and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share the video. If you already have subscribed, I really do appreciate it. So today I'll be doing my second SpreeKiller, and he is actually one of the first recorded SpreeKillers we've had in South Africa, and his name is StephanusSwart, and he was born in 1890, and his whole debacle happened in the late 1920s, 1927 to be specific, and he was a farmer living in Charlestown, which is in KwaZulu-Natal. So this whole scene of today's case is was set in KwaZulu-Natal. So anyway, he was 37 years old at the time of his offense, and growing up he was always just a violent, unpredictable person. He was always just not nice to have around, you know. He was very temperamental. He had symptoms of paranoid schizophrenia, which is extreme mood swings, hostility towards authority, and feelings or delusions of persecution, which basically means he always thought people were out to get him. He just always thought, you know, he just always felt like people saw him as the bad guy and they always wanted to punish him. You know, he just never wanted to be held accountable actually for any of his actions. So anyway, he was married to Mrs. Swart, who was actually 30 years older than him, and Mrs. Swart's first husband had left her farms. So actually Stephanus was also a farmer. So yeah, she was good, like money wise, you know, livelihood, she was good. So the wife's family actually thought Stephanus was actually using Mrs. Swart for her money, and not actually because he didn't get into the relationship because he loved her. So a lot of people were very skeptical of that relationship, and yeah, his in-laws just didn't like him because they didn't believe he was being genuine. So he had a lot of animosity and he just hated authority. He was poorly educated, and he just felt like magistrates, the courts, he didn't mess with the judicial system. He had a couple of encounters with the law. The first one was a civil suit that he had lost, and that, like, his attitude was already bad. So after losing that civil suit, it escalated. Like, he became worse than he was, you know what I mean? That was the first one. The second one was when he was charged with assaulting a relative, and he actually got 18 months for that one. And in his opinion, the sentence, he was sentenced out of animosity. You know, the magistrate must have had something against him. So yeah, that was that. And then after that one, he decided that he's not messing with the authorities no more. He doesn't like them. He already knew he doesn't like them. Now he had decided that he's gonna handle things on his own. Like, you know. So anyway, after the 18 months, he goes back to Mrs. Swart. Mrs. Swart is now living in Porter's Hill, which is also in KZN. And the farm there in Porter's Hill actually belongs to Mrs. Swart's daughter, which would be Stephanus's stepdaughter. So at this point also, Mrs. Swart and Stephanus are actually not, like, they judicially separated. They're no longer sort of like man and wife. So in 1927, this is the year of the demise. In 1927, he was accused of committing a sexual offense, incest to be specific. So incest is basically like something sexual happening between family members. So he actually was set to go to court on the 4th of May in 1927, and he didn't have bail money. So if he was to be arrested on that day, he didn't have money to bail himself out or whatever. So people were advising him, sell your livestock. You know, you have livestock, sell your livestock so you have money for bail. He's like, never days. He just didn't like the idea of people having his property. his mindset is very dark, I feel, for me. He doesn't trust nobody. He's not gonna sell his livestock to anybody. So yeah, the wife, Mrs. Swart, and the farm's manager, Mr. Visser, actually knew the truth. They knew that Stephanus was having an affair with a young girl, and they were actually going to like go against him in court and like give evidence that, you know, it's true that he's dating this young girl. So Stephanus is like, okay, these two are gonna be a problem. So he obviously does the obvious and threatens them. He's like, if you guys go against me, you know, I'm gonna kill you guys. Wara wara. Cool. So they know that he could really kill you. He's temperamental. He's borderline crazy. But yeah, so Mrs. Swart decides to leave. She goes to Potchefstroom, and Mr. Visser goes to Worcester in Cape Town. So they're fleeing the place so that they don't have to be involved. You know, they don't have to be summoned or subpoenaed to the court. So anyway, in April, so this is a month before he goes to court. In April of 1927, he is again in trouble with the law, and he is fined 10 shillings for driving an unlicensed car. So at this point, he's like, you know what? That was the last straw. That was like, okay, no. These people, banyaka, like, you guys are against me, but you're driving an unlicensed car. What must we do? You know? But anyway, so that was the last straw. So this is the introduction of who and how Stephanus got in the history books, actually. So he actually killed 8 Europeans, which is 8 white people, 1 black person, 1 native, and he wounded 3 other Europeans, and surprise, surprise, he killed himself at the end of it all. So on the 3rd of May, the day before he's supposed to go to court for the incest charge, he randomly goes to a neighbor's farm and shoots at the owner of the farm, Mr. Lawrence. And the police hear about his little stunt, and a warrant of arrest is actually issued on him for attempted murder. And he summons his lawyer, Mr. Maasdorp, and he tells him to come to Porter's Hill. So at this point, he wants to finalize his affairs. At this point, he already knows, okay, I want to kill people, so I must call my lawyer so that he can come and finalize my affairs. Basically, that's his mindset at this point. So Maasdorp calls the police and is like, yo, Stephanus is on a rampage. He's going off. What must I do? And the police are like, no, go to him so that you can be able to persuade him not to do anything further, you know, and for him to turn himself in before things get worse, basically. So okay, Maasdorp goes to Stephanus's farm, and he's actually nowhere to be found for 5 days. He's nowhere to be found. He's actually planning, like on his farm, on his land, he's actually planning revenge, you know. He sleepless nights with his workers, plotting and planning, you know. When he goes to sleep, he sleeps with the gun ready for in case anything happens during the night. So at this point, he's really paranoid. He feels like the police are gonna come for him, and he is prepared for them. During those 5 days also, at some point he goes to where the wife was to go and reiterate, make sure she understands that if she goes against him, he will kill her. Mrs. Swart wasn't there. She had actually gone to Newcastle. So he went to Newcastle to look for her, but didn't find her. Lucky for her on that day. So anyway, as he's driving back home from Newcastle, he actually this comes to his mind that, you know what, if I get killed or I get sent to jail, somebody's gonna take my car, and I don't want anybody having my property. So what he does is stops on the side of the road and literally sets the car alight and then he walks the 10 miles home. You have to understand this person's mindset, guys. I don't know how they were communicating, however they were communicating back in the day. So Swart actually gets Maasdorp to write a 28-page letter, basically a rampage, a rant about how he's not happy and basically how he hates authority. And it was just kind of like a suicide note to the authority. And so Maasdorp takes this letter, shows it to the authority, obviously, and then the commander of the police actually sends a letter back to Swart, basically trying to convince him, you know, turn yourself in before there's more problems, more trouble. And Swart is like, okay, you know what, I will meet with the commander and my lawyer if they can get to my house before 6 p.m, before sunset, because after that, anybody who crosses the threshold of a particular point on my property will get shot. I will be shooting people. So fine. Also, he makes a demand. So basically, he knew this was his demise because he demanded a particular kind of casket. So he wished to have a coffin ordered in folk rust, and the coffin must be made in oak, and it must be zinc lined, so lined with zinc, and it must cost no more than 40 pounds. So he already knew that he was gonna need a casket or a coffin for his body. So anyway, the next day on May 6th, top of the morning, the commander sets out 12 policemen in 2 cars and 1 motorcycle, you know those motorcycles that has a attachment here where another person can sit, one of those. He sets them out. They go to attack Swart's farm because Swart is not complying, like he's not playing the game, like, you know, he doesn't want to listen at this point. So anyway, they go in, and as they are setting up, so basically they had split into 3 teams, and they were gonna attack from different areas like surrounding Swart's farm. At this point, guys, Swart is waiting for y'all, like he was prepared. So anyway, Swart sees them and he sends out one of his workers, and basically the worker is there to tell him that, listen, Swart is ready for a fight and you guys better be ready too. And I think the worker leaves the horse that he came out on. He leaves the horse there. That's an important detail. I'll get back to it. So anyway, they are now attacking or approaching the farmhouse. But little do they know that Swart is actually not in the house anymore. He is now in the field. He is somewhere on his land. He is not in the house. Cool. So now the first constable gets shot as they're approaching the farmhouse. That constable gets sent for help in town. So after killing that one constable, he kills 2 more. And actually after shooting them, he actually walks right up to them so that he can shoot them point blank and make sure that he's done. So anyway, after killing them, he realizes that, you know what, I might not make it out alive. So he actually tries to run away and escape through the melee section of his farm. As he's going through the melee, I don't know what it's called, he actually encounters one other constable there and he shoots him as well, and he dies from loss of blood. He eventually gets to where the commander and his second in command are, and he kills the 2 of them. Guys, I don't know how they didn't see him. They probably should have had more manpower because wow. So they definitely underestimated this dude. So yeah, he kills the 2 of them, and then he takes one of their Webleys. A Webley is a gun. And he actually takes back the horse. You know the horse that, yeah. He takes the horse and he starts galloping away. So at this point he has 3 ammunitions, right? He has the gun that he had. So no, on him he had a Mauser rifle, he had a Browning automatic, and he had the Webley that he just stole. Anyway, now it's around 8 o'clock in the morning. He has killed 5 policemen, and he actually takes the horse to the neighbor's house. He gets to a neighboring farm. He's drinking coffee. He's happy. He's in a normal mood. He's telling them how he just killed 5 policemen, you know, and he's actually going to Charlestown. He's actually looking for 3 more people to kill. There are 3 more people on his list, and if he's successful in killing those 3 people, he will then move on to Falkrust, where he will kill himself. So that was the plan for the day. So anyway, he actually shows the neighbor the Webley that he just stole from one of the commanders that he just killed. So after this whole story, the neighbor is like, what? So when Swart leaves, the neighbor now is galloping to, he's approaching Mount Prospect. I guess it's on the way to the police station. And on his way there, an African man gives the neighbor a letter. The letter is from Mr. Swart. And the letter basically says, after I'm done killing all these people, I'm coming back for you. Because I guess Mr. Swart knew that the neighbor would go tell the police what just happened. So at this point also, guys, Swart had actually killed the Mr. Swart's daughter and Mr. Visser, the farm manager. So now he's on his way to the last person on his list, who is Mrs. Swart. At this point, Mrs. Swart is living with the Van Vieren family, and so Swart arrives at the house where Mrs. Swart lives, and Mrs. Swart is regularly chilling on the stoop with 2 teenagers who are from that family. And the girl teenager can just tell that, you know what, this guy is coming up and he's trouble. Like, she was just scared from seeing Swart coming up to the house. So she actually calls her sister from the house, and they run to the neighbors. As they get to the neighbors, the neighbor tells them, guys, run to the police because this is not going to be good. This guy does not look like a fun time. So as they're running, Swart shoots Mrs. Swart in the forehead once and in the chest once. So Swart shoots Mrs. Swart twice. And that was it. That was his mission. Mission accomplished. And he vamooses and he like gallops on his horse to the edge of town, and he actually ties his horse around one, like it's like, you know, the road, I guess. This is what I'm imagining. It's the road, and then the side of the road there's a fence. So he ties the horse on the fence there, and he actually tries to stop a car, but the car doesn't stop. As it like rushes past him, he actually shoots at the car, and I guess they kind of lost control because they did get wounded. The occupants, the 2 adults who were in the car, actually did get hurt. So anyway, at this point now, the whole town is like, no man, there's a frenzy. This guy is going on a rampage. We need to stop him. So the farmers are looking for him. The policemen are looking for him. Yeah, he's basically a wanted man. Now it's a chase because he realizes that he's been hunted down. So anyway, at the end of it all, a foreman actually shoots him 3 times. So he jumps to the side of the road in a field, you know, trying to hide. But he realizes that, you know what, I'm not getting out of it. There's not going to be peace after this. So he actually shoots himself in the head. And that is how StephanusSwart passes away after all that chaos that he just caused. So he had like symptoms of an aggressive psychopath, and so they basically commit these violent crimes. They're very premeditated, carefully premeditated at that, with little remorse or compassion. So he was just mentally ill, mentally unstable. He was a psychopath, like he was sick in the head. So I don't know if this could have been avoided. I don't know if maybe, you know, because his attitude has been the same his whole life. So maybe if they had helped him from a younger age, maybe things could be different. But I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think. I think it was a movie. Yeah, it was was quite interesting. I enjoyed this one. I hope you guys did too. Don't forget to do all the nice things below. Comment, subscribe, like. Yeah, if there's a spree killer that you know from South Africa that you would like me to like talk about, you're more than welcome to suggest in the comment section. Until next time.